Good morning. It's 10:07 on a Wednesday morning. I have the Sanctuary Foster Care Services here in studio. We're going to be talking about everything that they do, everything that they are going to be doing as they are brand new. They are licensed and they are going to be launching, I believe, this February. We're going to be finding out all of that information. Right now, we're going to throw it on the FM. Feel free to share this out on social media. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. It's 10:07 on a Wednesday. I was talking to Councilman Leha about everything going on in Santa Fe, Texas, and how you can specifically help some military families, some veterans in our area that live in Galveston County during this holiday and Christmas season. Right now, we're going to be talking to Kristen. We're going to be talking to Amanda, who I believe is the executive director of the foster care services, the Sanctuary Foster Care Services. First of all, how are y'all doing today? Y'all doing good?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Did y'all find the building okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good.
We sure did.
Okay, good. And the door was unlocked?
The one door was unlocked.
Yeah, there's
the other
one
ones,
door.
Yeah, the other ones we tried
It was
several
the fourth
times.
one.
There is one door unlocked to this entire building, and that is for security purposes. And I always try and do my best. Whenever people come to KHEA, I give them direction. Okay, park on this side of the building. There's a sign, there's an awning, there's this. And then the only thing I don't say is use the door all the way to the right.
one door.
Yeah, count the doors and hold your hand. I don't know. There's a lot of information. And so I figure if you get to the right one and just start like pulling on them, maybe you'll find it.
Eventually we'll
So,
get in, huh?
Yeah. So Kristen, we messaged on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you went to an event more than just a society with Kelly Redinger,
Yes,
right?
I did, yes.
Was that your first time to go? Have you been to those events or been in the group before?
Well, I've been since twice now, but that was my first time at the
At Coco
Friends
Crepes?
At Coco Crepes.
Did you get anything to eat?
I didn't eat anything.
Oh, did you get coffee?
I got coffee.
Okay, cool.
I got the good coffee.
Yeah, they have some coffee, cappuccino, and all kinds of really cool stuff. So shout out
Really
to
good stuff.
Manish and Little Bella Mia, Coco Crepe. They have some really cool stuff, going on there. And Kelly has a really awesome networking group. And I believe you met Tara while you were there with Freestyle
did.
Ministries.
I did. That's where I met Tara.
Yeah. So how long have you been involved with this organization, the Sanctuary Foster Care? I want to make sure I say, can I just call it the Sanctuary?
Yes.
Okay. So how long have you been involved with the Sanctuary?
I have only been involved since April.
Since
Well,
April.
I guess that's when the fundraising team started. So I've
Okay.
been involved since April.
Okay. And then we have Amanda. So are you the founder? Did you start this organization?
I'm one of the founders.
Okay.
There are three main founders. I joined it a little bit after about a year, about a year and a half from when it actually started, and they started the process and all of that.
You mentioned a process, and I think you said like 2 years of, being licensed and figuring out, all the approvals and I don't want to say hoops to go through, but that stuff's important to do. Who are the other people that founded this, I guess, a year before you came on?
Yes, Hannah Stavanoa is one of them. She actually is the quality director over quality assurance. And so what she does is she makes sure all the binders and everything are in order, and she does the state licensing side of it. So, and then I do the networking, more the networking side and vision casting and holding true to the mission statement and all of that. And then we also have some clinical staff, people that are involved, therapists and things like that also had input in starting the organization.
Okay. And how long? When did you start? If she started in April, when did you come on board?
I came on board the end of March.
Okay.
So is when I came on board and and really started to do the networking within the community. Before that, they were working on getting the 501c3, so to get our nonprofit status, because it took almost a year actually to get the nonprofit status in place. And so after that, then they started to do a little bit of networking, but getting our website up and running to make sure we had a website, have our Facebook page, just get all the foundational things, starting a board of directors, the foundational things that need to happen before you can start reaching out into the community and, letting them know that we are for real organization that's starting.
So how can somebody find you on social media?
They can go to sanctuaryfostercare.org, and that goes directly to our website and, talks about our mission and who we are and the things that are important to us. Or they can just look us up at the Sanctuary Foster Care Services on Facebook and like our Facebook page. And then they can, keep in contact with us, and they can message us on the Facebook page, or they, can follow our posts, all of those kind of things.
All right. Why did you choose to get involved? What's your background?
Oh, goodness. I'm glad you asked that, because that is the reason why I did get involved. About 10 years ago, my husband and I decided to join the, to jump into the foster care world. Ever since I was a little girl, believe it or not, God laid it on my heart to adopt. And so I knew I'd always adopt. Didn't know if I'd have my own kids, but I knew that was something that he wanted me to do. So when I dated any guy, the first question I asked him is, I said, "Are you open to adoption?" If he said yes, then we continued. If he said no, I knew he was not the one for me. So it was pretty straightforward about it, because I knew that was always a passion. Didn't know I would go this far into it, but I knew, that I would adopt. And so anyway, 10 years ago, we got our first 3 kiddos in placement. So we had 1 biological. My husband had 1 from a previous marriage. And then we had 3 kiddos that were placed in our home. So we grew our family pretty quickly.
You said 10 years ago?
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yes.
Whenever you were little, where do you think that came from? Is there anybody that you had ever met, or like a story that you had heard, or it was just in your heart and you're not really sure?
I really think is just in my heart, that God gave it to me. Now, my parents did do foster care, but they did it when I was a baby. So I don't remember any of the children that they actually fostered or anything. I just think that it was always in my heart. When I was younger, I'd always bring home stray animals, puppies and kittens, and that to try to find a home for them. And now it's graduated on to children. So
yeah. And
yeah.
so 10 years ago,
Yes.
you actually had, the children come and stay with you,
Yes.
placed in there.
Yes.
What does that process look like for you as a family saying, "Hey, I want to open my home"? Was that an easy process for you 10 years ago?
I think it's a relatively easy process for the amount of responsibility that you have, honestly. So you just you'll go to a third-party agency. The sanctuary is one of those agencies that's contracted with the state, and say you're interested in being a foster parent. Attend an orientation, attend training classes, and then you have to turn in documentation and get your home ready, complete a home study, and then after that you're licensed with that agency. They get referrals from CPS. They call you about those referrals, the children that they have that are coming into the system. You have the opportunity to say yes or no, depending on the information that you receive. And then if you say yes, then we let CPS know, hey, this family's willing to accept placement. And then if CPS agrees to that placement after they've read the home study, then the child is placed in the home. And sometimes, they'll be there within half an hour to 2 hours, or it could be the next day.
As a family that is opening your home, you want to have kids, come and stay there. What kind of, paperwork, kind of checks? What is the process that you have to you have to fill out, 10 pieces of paper, just open the house. You're interviewed. What does it look like?
There is a lot of paperwork that you have to fill out. The first thing that they're looking for is you have to run background checks to make sure that, as the home, you don't have felonies or dangerous things that could be happening with children coming into your home, that you are financially responsible enough to have children in your home. The state does give a per diem for the children in the home, a reimbursement to help with the cost for caring for the children once they're placed in your home. But it just you want to make sure that the children being placed in the home are not being used as a source of income for the family.
Is that even possible? Does the amount of money? I mean, I'm sure everything happens potentially, but I mean, how much does the state compensate? I assume that it wouldn't really even, in my head at least, cover the actual cost of what it takes to take care of a child.
If you're taking good care of the children, it is comparable for taking good care of the children. If you're not taking great care of the children, then there's always ways to exploit businesses and children that that people do. That's why there's so many rules and regulations that you have to follow, is because people have done that.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, you opened up your home. I want to hear the story whenever you told your husband, "Hey, are you open to adopt? Are you open to doing that stuff?" And obviously he said, "Yeah."
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I did. It was on our, on our first meeting and on our first date. Honestly, I said, "Hey, this is something that's on my heart, and I don't, want to get involved with you if you're not, open to it." And he said, "Yeah, I've really God's talked to me about that before, and he, I think that I'd be open to doing that. That's something I'd like to do." And I was like, "All right, then, we can continue in this process and see if it goes anywhere."
Wow. So
just not 7.
Not 7? That's too many?
Yeah, well, we've adopted 5 already, and we have another one on the way. So that will be 6. And so we have, when she comes, we'll have 8 children total.
In the house still?
No, actually, some of them have grown up. So we have 3 that are out. and then my husband was from a previous marriage, so we get him, every other weekend and 30 days in the summer. How that goes, but yeah, so we have a lot of kiddos for sure.
So how many are in the house right now?
Well, currently, right now, we have 3, except when our kiddo comes from my husband's previous marriage, and then we have 4.
Yeah.
And then we're getting ready to have our 5th one join us here pretty soon.
Is it and it's a baby, or is it a full?
No, she's 9.
9 years old?
She's 9 years old.
Okay, it's a girl that's 9 years old, and you're adopting her?
Yes, we will be adopting.
Okay. How long is the process? Because I know, like, foster care, like, that's a temporary thing, until hopefully they get back into, with their family, or they have that stable environment and find the spot, right? That's the
goal.
And then adopting is they're a part of the family now.
Yes, it means that parental rights have been terminated on the kiddos. Unfortunately, it means that the biological parents have not done the things that they needed to do to get their kiddos back.
Okay. And now they have a home with you, and they can be a part of the family.
Right, correct, yes.
Okay. Wow.
The process with that, though, is in the state of Texas, the child has to live in your home for 6 months before they can even be eligible for adoption.
Do they take the child's thoughts and wishes into consideration in those cases?
Yes, they absolutely do.
So they probably interview them and just talk and monitor and everything else.
Right.
And, Councilman Leha, as he walked out, he mentioned to you, and I knew this about him before from a previous conversation, about him being an advocate, a child's advocate with KHEA. And so do you work with them, or I'm sure you've probably ran into them, quite a bit, because what they do is they help report to the judge, I believe, what the best interest of the child is too, as a third party.
Yeah, we've had KHEA, come to our home. They come in and visit the kiddos, and KHEA does a really good job because they are that third party, and so they don't really have a bias as much as other people that are, part of the situation do.
Okay.
And the CASA is working with the bio family, as well as the child, as well as the foster family. So they're kind of the third party and that mediator in between all three. They have to advocate for the child.
Yeah, they have a bigger scope, I guess.
Okay.
Of, what's occurring.
Kristen, what's your background? How did you end up getting involved where you said, this is the place for me to be? I want to be a part of this.
Well, God. But I worked in foster care, and I was actually a placement specialist for an agency, 10 years ago. And then I kind of walked away from the child welfare side of things and got into school social work. And then I actually went to stay at home. And then my husband and I both felt called to foster and adopt. And we knew we wanted to adopt at some point, and God had a faster path for us. So we walked into an agency, and this lady right here, we were meeting with her for an orientation, and I had let her know, we do want to be an adoptive home. And so she said, well, actually, we have an 8-year-old available right now. I was like, what? So then we went on the fast track and got our home licensed within 3 weeks. And now I have a beautiful 10-year-old girl who we adopted the day after her 10th birthday. Adoption was finalized May of this year.
Wow. That sounds like it's quick. You have to know going in that, that's a big responsibility. Especially you go and you say, hey, this can happen. I mean, we can start the decision right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And theirs was a special case.
Yeah, ours was not
the little girl that they ended up adopting. She had a lot of emotional problems. She was a pretty good behavior issue. We actually ended up getting her in the agency from a psych hospital, and so she was in a home, and we knew we had a certain amount of days that we needed to get a family licensed in order to keep her in the agency. And so we worked really hard to do what was in her best interest in order to make sure that we could keep her, so that she could maintain normalcy and everything that she needed to, the connection she had made within our agency at the time, so that she wouldn't have to go through additional trauma. So we worked really hard to get them licensed quickly to get them placed in the home.
How do you prepare yourself? I mean, from your home to mentally, physically, emotionally, how do you prepare yourself to be able to do that? Especially that quickly, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, lots of prayer, lots of talking with people, lots of phone conversations with the support people that we have. And I mean, we had to move some beds around. My small group came in and helped move some furniture around, clear out some closets, help me get rid of stuff that I needed to get rid of 5 years ago. And just kind of helped that process, like getting through to get our home ready as quick as we had to.
Yeah. So we're talking about the sanctuary, foster care services. Y'all also help with adoptions, or are going to be helping with getting local kids into a home that's permanent, that they are, safe and taken care of. One thing that I've heard about adoption in some cases is that it gets expensive. There's a lot of cost to it. What does that entail with you guys?
Actually, with us, that's not accurate. If you're adopting kiddos out of the CPS foster system, if you adopt certain kiddos, and what I mean by that is a minority child that's over the age of 2, a Caucasian child that's over the age of 6, or any sibling group, it doesn't matter, 2 or more, the adoption actually is completely free. The state pays for the adoption, and so you have no cost. You incur no cost whatsoever. You
just have to, have the time, have the heart, have the home, and the means to make it happen.
Right. And then, I mean, there's with those different groups as well, though, the government actually helps you. So you will still receive a stipend of $400 a month to take care of them until they're 18. Their medical and dental is all covered and paid for until they're 18, and their college is all paid for, clear up to their doctorate degree.
Wow.
So there's lots of incentives for, for adopting those kiddos that are in in those categories, because they're harder to place.
Yeah, and these kids, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some kids that are good, perfectly fine, just in a not good situation, I suppose. And then there's probably kids who have gone through, like you mentioned, abuse or emotional issues, and it really just depends. Like every child is different, every situation is different.
Most of the kiddos, and I'm just going to be honest with you, have had trauma. And one of the common misconceptions is that, if I adopt a child under the age of 5, then they will have not gone through much trauma. The problem is trauma happens when that child is a lot of times in utero. If there are drugs or different chemicals that are introduced to the body, the brain is wired when they're infants, and it's wired for what we say, it's wired for protection and not connection. And so it's really important to understand that, even if you decide to adopt an infant or a smaller child, is that you will likely need help and intervention on knowing how to parent that child at some point during that child's life.
What kind of resources are available to be able to know how to appropriately parent?
One of the things that we ascribe to, it's called TBRI, Trust-Based Relational Intervention. Dr. Karen Purvis is the front runner in that, and it is the best modality that we have found of how to address kiddos that have trauma or have experienced trauma, whether it's in utero or wherever. So definitely, The Connected Child is an amazing book. She has videos out, and then us as a sanctuary as well too. We will be providing post-adoption services for our families, but then also other families will be consulting with other families that are in trouble too, because we've seen lots of parents, unfortunately, that adopted younger kiddos, and then that child reaches 6 or 7 is usually the first uptick that we see behaviors, and then again at around 11 and 12, 13, we'll see another uptick in behaviors of kiddos, and parents sometimes they just don't know what to do.
Right.
And we want to make this kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like the sanctuaries. What's the word I'm looking for?
I'm not sure.
We want to make that the TBRI is going to be like the nuts and bolts of the sanctuary.
It's the basis. It's our foundation.
Okay.
Is everything for the staff, the foster parents, the foster kiddos, everybody that's comes into interaction with that child will understand what TBRI is.
So what is the mission statement? I know you said it's available on the website, and then can you I'm thinking at least like that the name, the sanctuary is involved somewhere in the mission statement.
Right. The sanctuary is that we want to be just that, a sanctuary for not only foster children, but also for foster parents and anybody that is in the foster care industry, because it's a hard industry. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you come across what I say is you come across the worst of humanity and the best of humanity at the same time, because you see these horrible things that have done to innocent children, but you'd also see foster families that step in there with the right heart, and just to watch the difference in the children from when they first came in to where they are now. When we first met Kristen's little girl, she couldn't even smile. She'd been in multiple placements, multiple psychiatric hospitals. She couldn't even smile. And now she's just this amazing, vibrant child that, is great. She's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's 10 years old now?
She's 10. Excuse me.
You always hear like, okay, am I prepared, or like, what am I going to,
Nope.
I don't know, like, you know
You
what
will
I mean?
never
Like,
be
I feel like
prepared.
you really can't be.
No, you
can
can't be.
Mm-mm.
You can't, because each child is different. And, my husband and I was an educator previously before coming into foster care, and I loved those behavior kiddos in my classroom. My husband was an assistant principal, actually in Santa Fe. We were talking about Santa Fe earlier, and we were not prepared when our first 3 kids were 5, 9, and 11, and our 11-year-old kiddo was super, super challenging. And she turned our household upside down, and we were not prepared for, everything she was going to bring.
I mean, now she's 19.
Now she's 20.
20?
Actually.
20?
In college,
In
doing
college?
well.
Yeah.
She wants to actually go into the social services. She's talked about being an ad litem attorney or a therapist, and she wants to, impact other kids in the foster care system.
What kind of advice would you give yourself, going back 10 years ago, if you could tell yourself anything about the experience, about anything?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say do a lot of research. Definitely prepare your heart. Do a lot of prayer. Make sure that the important thing is let your yes be yes and your no be no. Mm-hmm. So when you get that call about that kiddo, pray about it, and if God is telling you yes, then hold on for dear life, no matter what. No matter what that child throws at you, hold on and just trust in God and know that it was His will.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Does that happen often where people, hey, you tried, and then they get to a certain age, or it's like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this anymore. Please, I can't take care of this child. That happens?
It does. It happens a lot. Not so much with the sanctuary and with our organization, because we're very upfront in pre-service training, and we tell them, listen, let your yes be yes and your no be no, because every time that child attaches to someone, and even though they've got behaviors and they move from one home to another home, it causes more damage on that child. What we found is what ruins children is not the abuse that they came from. It's the number of placements they have once they're in the system that ruins them. And unfortunately, the average for foster children is 5 moves for each foster child, because parents are just not adequately prepared in pre-service. They don't really know what they're getting into. And so they have this expectation of, oh, I'm going to do something good. It's great. And they have all these feelings of doing good things, but then they don't have a reality of how hard it's actually going to be.
Mm-hmm. And again, we mentioned earlier, you can't really prepare yourself. You can take all the class. You can do your research and everything, and just be prepared, I suppose. But let's see. Right now it is 10:30. This is KHEARadio.com, 99.5 FM. If you're watching on Facebook, feel free to share this video. If you have any questions or thoughts or want to know how you can get involved, let us know. Reach out. What's the best way to get a hold of the sanctuary? How can they do that?
They can go on our website for sure and message us through our website. They can also they can give me a call on my cell phone. It's my phone number is 409-539-0170, or they can email me at aboyd@sanctuaryfostercare.org.
All right.
ABOYD.
Yes.
Cool. Y'all mentioned about a 5K. I know y'all are a nonprofit organization. How do y'all get funded? Do y'all do events? Is there private donors, organizations? How does that work?
I'm glad you asked that too. Do you want to answer that question?
Sure. So that's where I came in, where I'm on. There's been a kind of like a grassroots fundraising team that formed. Officially, we formed in August. And so we've been doing a whole ton of events. We just did a roller derby over in Alvin's skating party. And then now we're going to do our 5K. We did a golf tournament in July, and then it happened to be on the beautiful day where it was 75 degrees. Like, it was beautiful in July. And then so now we have this 5K, and that will be on February 8th at 8 a.m. And Clear Creek Community Church is hosting that for us. And so they've generously partnered with us and come alongside with us as well. So the 5K, we need our if you own a business and if you are looking to sponsorship, because this is all fundraising from the ground up. We need to get $150,000. Our goal is to get that by February of 2020. And so we're really hoping that this 5K will push us. Have only, I think, $15,000 left to go. So we're at 135 right now.
And so y'all been, that shows a lot of hard work. Y'all been working hard, fundraising, getting the word out, doing everything that you can even to get to that point. That's a lot of money.
Well, it shows a lot of God's provision too, honestly. The connections that he's allowed us to make, with different people in the community. He is just, I just really feel he's really behind this because, he's got such a heart for, the least of these, and these kiddos are the least of these.
Yeah. There's an organization that is called the Birthday Joy Program.
Yes.
Have y'all heard it? Y'all know them? They're really a cool organization. The first time I heard that, I was like, well, this is ridiculous, because I think of my son. I told you I have a 7-year-old, and the birthday parties and the stuff that he gets and the stuff he doesn't even play with, or that maybe his birthday was in November and there's stuff that he hasn't even opened. You know what I mean?
Right,
And it's just like a reality check.
Well, and that was part of, honestly, when you were asking me how I got into this, the first 3 kiddos that we got when they came to our home, we were their 3rd placement. They came into care in March that year. We got them in August of that same year, and we were placement number 3 for them. And just the stories that they told us about having a birthday and being in a foster home and not getting a birthday cake and not getting presents. And one of the foster moms telling my daughter, I'm here to put a roof over your head and put food in your belly, and that's it. I am not your mom. And so, when you hear of kids coming from foster homes that are not the best, then, I felt God tugging on my heart of, hey, I need you to create an organization where you're not going to accept that. That's not going to be your standard. Your standard is going to be, you're going to be very careful in your selection process. You're going to have good foster homes, and you're going to make sure these kids are taken care of the way they should be.
Yeah. So if somebody can foster, what kind of commitment on time? Like, does it need to be like, hey, you have to at least do a year or and then I don't know. Is there any kind of commitment if they are not necessarily looking to adopt but have a safe place? Obviously, ideally, it's somebody who will take them in, but is that something else that y'all do?
Yeah, the commitment time is honestly once that child is placed in your home until the end of the case. And so what that means is either the child goes with a relative or they go back to their biological home or they become available for adoption, and then we transition them into an adoptive home.
So it's open.
It's open, yeah. It can be a year. It can be 18 months. We've had them last as long as 2 years, 2.5 years.
Whenever it comes to, I guess, the people making the decisions, like judges and stuff, that's the goal, to get them back into the house or an aunt and uncle, somewhere that's safe, right?
Correct.
In most cases, does that happen? Do they get them back into the home or with a family member, or is it 50-50?
It's really about 50-50, I would say. When we were actually looking at the agency, it was about 60-40, about 40% where they returned and about 60% where the foster parent ended up adopting the kiddos.
Okay. All right. If there's anything else that you could share about, I guess, asking people, like, are you a good candidate? Like, what kind of things would show a good candidate that you're good? This isn't something, like, even like you just know in your heart, like, oh, there's something. Like, what's a good candidate?
Is definitely make sure that it's a calling, that it is what God wants you to do. But please remember that just because God isn't calling you necessarily to foster, there's always something you can do. There's lots of support staff. We need babysitters. We need sponsors for the 5K. We need volunteers. We need someone to run a foster care closet that's there. We need people that'll bring meals, mow lawns, all kinds of things that you can get involved in. But as far as actual, fostering and adoption, first one, is God calling you to do it? That's the main question you need to ask. And then secondly, after that, are you willing to learn? Or do you have a teachable spirit? Are you willing to learn a new way of parenting? Because it is a different way of parenting. And then 3, do you have the grit to stick in there when things get tough? Are you gonna bail on these kiddos, or are you gonna trust that God placed this child in your home and learn the lessons that you need to learn, that he's willing to teach you? I always tell people there's no sanctification process like foster care, because you actually learn how to love without receiving anything in return. You learn to love like Jesus.
I feel like the training and classes that y'all offer and resources would probably just be good for parents.
Yeah,
Yes.
They really are.
For everybody.
Yeah. We actually kind of changed the way that we parent our biological child once we were introduced to the TBRI. So, it's good all around. The research has been done on kids coming from, they call it, from hard places. But, been great and useful because we had a 4-year-old when we started fostering. And so, we were able to, those coming out of that terrible 3s and really just learning how to work with her and help her in those moments. And it's been very useful just for her.
Yeah. What kind of, I don't know, like an effect, or what kind of things have your biological children learned, being raised with the, these additional adopted siblings and foster kids?
Well, I definitely think it opens their eyes. I mean, our daughter was 3 when we started fostering, and she turned 4 the day after our oldest moved in. And so it has been beautiful to see how she's learned to love her and be in the midst of seeing the extreme behavior that she brought, and just kind of learning to love and unconditional love, and explaining that and walking through that as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old. I mean, and definitely it's come with its challenges, and she definitely struggled with jealousy, and your attention gets taken because one child's going to demand more attention at one point. But it's nothing like hands-on experience to see how you can love like Jesus loves, and how you get to, show that, physically show that too.
Is that something that you, even shared with your child and be like, it says this in the Bible, this is what we're supposed to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Recently, we had a little 3.5-year-old that we had for about 2.5 months. And as a foster placement, he ended up being reunited with his mom, which has been a great experience in itself. But my son, on day 2, when we had him, my son looked at me and he said, "Mom, I'm going to get too attached." And I looked at him back, and sorry, this is my life, but I looked at him back and I said, "Son, we are going to get too attached. We're going to love this kiddo like he's our own. And then when he leaves, our hearts will break." And they did. He lived in Dallas, and we took him to his mom. We took him to a court in Dallas, and then we dropped him off. And all the way home, my kiddos were crying. And this one child who's super sensitive, he says, "Mom, it just hurts so bad. It hurts so bad." And I said, "Son, it does. But the alternative is that these kiddos go to homes where it doesn't hurt bad, where they don't get attached. And so they end up in homes that don't take good care of them." And so are you going to get too attached? Absolutely. Is it going to hurt? Absolutely it is. But either we hurt or they hurt. The foster kiddos hurt. So, and so anyway, on the way home, I was talking to him about that, and he goes, "Well, we have to keep doing it, Mom. We have to keep fostering, because I don't want these kiddos to get hurt in a home that really doesn't care about them." So it's a mission.
How old was he?
Family. He's 11.
He's 11. Are you allowed to keep contact with any of those kids?
Yes, and that's the good thing, that this little boy, and his name is Noah, so I can, because he's back with his mom, so I can talk about his name now. And we went and visited. We FaceTime with the family probably 2 to 3 days a week. They live in Dallas. We visited them when we went through Dallas for Thanksgiving, and then his whole family, Noah and his mom and 2 other siblings, are coming down and spending the whole week of Christmas with us.
That's awesome.
So, yes.
Wow. Very cool.
I would have to say that that's one of the other pieces of the sanctuary, is that we really want to fit that biological family mentorship into it. That's going to be one leg of the sanctuary, is really educating people about the biological family mentorship, and kind of changing the way that we look at that. Because the reason why the kids came into the system is because those biological parents didn't have probably anybody who comes along. What was that word you used on our way over here? Like, they didn't have anybody to come alongside them. And so to teach them, they didn't have that support. To break, that's another way to break that cycle, is to come alongside. And, I know personally Amanda, and I know another family who's come alongside and walking along with the biological family, and just kind of being that, breaking the cycle, and teaching them and mentoring them.
So the Sanctuary Foster Care Services will offer resources to the biological parents as well, in cases that, the court, the judge, they say, "Hey, this is what's best." And, at the end of the day, it is what's best. Be with your biological family if it's safe and
if
fit.
It's possible, absolutely.
Yeah, and then y'all can help them as well, give them resources to handle parenting and life.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Hey, is there anything else y'all would like to share? How can people get a hold of you? Remind them about the 5K.
Okay, so
anything else?
sanctuaryfostercare.org is our website, and then you can definitely find us on Facebook. Please find us on Facebook and like us on Facebook. Just look us up, the Sanctuary Foster Care Services, and then the 5K, if you want to register, that's going to be go to clearcreek.org /5K, register to run with us. It'll be $30 for the 5K, and then $10 there's going to be a kids 1K at 7:45 before the 5K starts. So come bring your kids. It's going to be a fun family event. It's going to be a fun little party afterwards. And if you are if you're a business and you'd like to sponsor us, and if you'd like to have a tent at our 5K, and call Amanda, find us on Facebook, send us an email. We would love to partner with you. We definitely want to. We feel like that's what's going to make this successful, is partnering with local businesses, and just banding arms with anybody who's willing to come. I mean, there's so many roles that we can do, and so many roles that you can play alongside to help us.
And I just want to, end it just by, throwing out some statistics of people understanding how important that this is. Just one of the statistics, 88% of all sex trafficking victims were in foster care at some point in time.
Wow.
Over 70% of all prisoners were in foster care at some point. 50% of the homeless population was in foster care. Okay. Of the kids that age out of the foster care system, even though their college is paid for, like I told you, 94% of them don't take advantage of it even for a 2-year degree. So we have got to do something as a community. We have to do better by these children. We have to, as a community, we have to step in there and work together to do what's to take care of these kiddos and do what's in their best interest. So if this is tugging at your heart at all, if you have even an inkling of a soft spot for these kiddos that desperately need help, get in touch with us. We will find a place to fit you in, because it's going to take the entire community coming together and working together to do what's in the best interest of these kiddos.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining today. And that's the Sanctuary Foster Care Services. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. You can comment on our Facebook stream, or you can even text. And Amanda gave her phone number. It's 409-539-0170. You can send a text or call as well. Where's y'all's office located right now? I think you said y'all are looking to potentially move, but where y'all at right now?
We are currently next to the Nassau Hilton on Nassau Road 1. But we are looking for office space. If anybody, has any shared office space, or would be interested in donating office space for us for a year until we get, our legs completely underneath us, we would really, really appreciate that.
Yes, and thank you to Kelly Redinger for making this connection.
Yes, thank you, Kelly.
She's a great connector of people, and she's a great person to know, and a great advocate for kids and education and for our community.
Yes.
So thank you, Kelly. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. KHEA. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank
you.
Bye, Facebook. Y'all be good today. Do something positive.